Good day and welcome back to the podcast Catch It, A New Perception. My name is Ketuk. Looking forward to how we end this season over the next few episodes. If we're able to continue to do a line from a song, I think it would be really cool. I'm under the impression next season might look a little different as I have some things going on personally in my life that I may begin to share and become possibly more personal in this podcast than what I've been up to this point in many ways. I may begin to share some things that I have consciously left out of episodes of this podcast. And moving forward is interesting because we never know that we're promised another day. We never know that we're promised another week, to hear another episode, to put out another episode. We're not promised anything other than this moment. And for me, it's really important to know and stay in this moment, in today. Be present right now. Be present with you. Be present with me. So this line from a song that I think of, maybe some of you will share this with other people. Maybe some of you think that there's not much content to it, and others will think that it got deep enough to hit them right in the heart. I don't know. I'm not sure where you're at. Now, this line starts off with some terminology that I often have spoke of not caring. I don't care to use this terminology anymore. And because it's a line in a song, I like to be able to say it as closely to the line as possible so we can get something out of it. So we understand where it is they're coming from, or we could maybe put ourselves in their shoes for a moment, for lack of a better term. We could find the essence of where they were when they wrote this, or when they sang this, or when they played this. And I don't know that that can happen. I don't know that that will happen. I just find it interesting for a season to be able to take a line from a song. I believe we are on episode 12 presently. To take a line from a song each week over the next couple weeks, possibly also to be able to share with you this journey of music and how it's impacted my life. Maybe a little bit of what I hear when I take it a little deeper. It's possible at times it's just very practical, the words are. It's times probably spiritual. And it just touches my heart. And there's times where it becomes esoteric, possibly. That's kind of cool too, for me. The line that I think of is, everyone's afraid of something, even the strongest man alive. Everyone's afraid of something, even the strongest man alive. It's interesting because when I say everyone, I'm like, well, I don't know everyone. How could I say everyone? This isn't my words. These are the words of someone else. And I share them with you because I think that looking at fear is a really good idea. And that most people possibly might be a better term. I like what they're going for, though. I like the idea that everyone's afraid of something. Someone will say, well, I'm not afraid of anything, and maybe they're not afraid of dying. Maybe they're not afraid of taking that long journey. Maybe they're not afraid of meeting their maker. Maybe they're not afraid of another human being. Maybe they're not afraid of the tax man. Maybe they're not afraid of losing their job. Maybe they're not afraid of not being enough. Maybe they're not afraid of not measuring up. I don't know. I don't know what people's fears are. And I don't know that everyone lives with fears the way they once did. I think some people starting to get to know their higher self are going to leave those fears behind. They're just going to shed themselves of those fears and allow them to dissipate because we don't need them anymore, because they're not part of us, because they're not relevant, because we found a way to face them. And one of the ways that I found for me to be able to face my fears is to understand that sometimes I couldn't recognize them. I know for a fact that I have shared about not recognizing fears in this lifetime. Does it still happen? How deep is the self-deception? I think about this because I carried I can imagine in many different ways how I could carry self-deception, and attempted to be open to that ever since I started to get to know my higher self, that I could be deceived. And usually it's from a spiritual standpoint, in a sense, like I could always live with self-deception. I can't recognize it, so I need help recognizing it. Please help me to see who I am. Help me to see how I treat people so I can treat you differently, so I can show up differently, so I can make a different approach. I want all of these things in my life. And then I talk about my age as I turn 58 years old. And I believe that I'm pretty healthy. I eat pretty well. I do what I need to with yoga and meditation on a routine basis to the best of my ability. I get connected to other people and I feel like I'm rather healthy. And I think physically I'm healthy. I think that spiritually some of the ceremonies that I participate in really keep me connected to the Creator and keep me connected to the earth and keep me connected to other people. And the sweat lodges and some of the other ancient ceremonies I do are really healthy for me. So I feel like I'm healthy. And I go to have some routine things with the doctor and find out that I have cancer. So I have lived with a lot of self-deception, not knowing I wasn't as healthy as I thought I was. A whole new form of self-deception. Did fear creep in? Not for me. Did fear creep in for some people that I love? Very much so. And some people that love me, a lot of fear crept in. Like, no, this is my journey. I'm not saying that I'm not afraid of something. I can't recognize what it is right now. I remember when someone was calling me out about answering the phone, and no, I don't want to answer it. It's a bill collector. You've heard this routine if you've listened to this podcast. We didn't have cell phones yet. I had a landline with caller ID. A friend walks into my place with me and says, "You going to answer that?" "No." "You're afraid to answer that?" "I am not afraid. I just don't want to. I don't want to talk to him. It's a bill collector. I don't have the money to reconcile it, so I don't want to talk to him." "You're afraid to talk to him?" "No." We go through this routine. And I believe I'm not afraid. I do not recognize fear. So it's not lost on me just because I don't feel startled or I don't see fear the way other people do, that it's not that I don't have fear. That's not lost on me. I get it. I could have fears I cannot recognize. I was living with self-deception about my health and had no idea what was before me and what's about to come in my life. Now, having said that, this podcast could change a little bit in the future. I might talk a little bit more about that journey that I'm about to go on. I may not. I don't know. I'm okay with being transparent. I'm okay with sharing certain things that are personal. And I'm not sure how much I'm going to talk about this. I might do a season about it because it could impact my life in ways that I never could have imagined. Do I have fears wrapped up around this? Not that I can recognize. Do I have fears in my life? Probably. Not the way I once did. I think that this statement, everyone's afraid of something, even the strongest man alive. I think that this statement makes a lot of sense because if we don't have a fear today, that I can understand. That a lot of us have taken our fears and we've moved into a different realm and we don't live with fear the way we once did. It doesn't mean it won't return. It doesn't mean that it won't be here at a given moment. It doesn't mean I won't get startled. That'll feel like fear. When I don't get worked up inside, I don't think it's fear. I just don't want to. That's the way it felt. So I have a lot to learn about this. And one thing about using this line in this podcast is being able to take a look at my own fears and what is it that I'm afraid of. It says, even the strongest man alive. Some of you think of somebody that works out in the gym, somebody that's a bodybuilder, somebody that's all buffed up when it comes to the strongest man alive. Some people probably think about someone who sits quiet and meditates, doesn't allow the world to shake them. Some of you probably think of a spiritual giant in your life. I don't know what you think of when you hear the strongest man alive. Even the strongest man alive. I don't know what it means to you, and I don't know what it meant to the person that wrote this. I didn't speak to the people who wrote these lyrics. I just think that it's interesting for me today to take a look at this. Do I have fears wrapped up around the cancer? Maybe. Maybe I'm not recognizing them. Do I have a lot of faith? I do. I have faith in the doctors. I have faith in the process. I have faith in where some of the progression of this type of pharmaceuticals and medicine has gone. Often when I speak of medicines, I do not speak of pharmaceuticals. I speak of traditional ways of medicine, which makes more sense to me. And so I have a different way of looking at this today. And I'm not sure what I see as the strongest man alive. The one that can pick up the biggest, heaviest weights, the weightlifter, the one that can run the furthest, the fastest, the one that can sit the quietest, the one that can meditate the longest, the one that is the most connected. I don't know what that means. And I love the fact that throughout this podcast, I will not define this stuff for you. I will continue to ask questions because that's what this is about. It's about you looking inside to find that answer. It's not about me answering something for you. Back to the esoteric. Back to the spiritual. Back to the practical. Here it is. This is for you to answer. This is for you to honor that seventh direction and go in to the heart. Go inside of yourself and find that power that's inside of you. Find that the fundamental idea of God is down deep inside of every man, woman, and child. The idea of the Creator is part of us. We are part of it. Is the essence of everything. When you realize that's inside of you, is that at what point you lose fear at the moment? Is it possible to not be afraid at this moment, and then as fear begins to build, is it possible to lose fear again at that moment? I ask these questions because I think some of the people I've been around that have done certain practices have lost a lot of fears. They don't live with the fears that they used to. The problem is between the self-deception and the not knowing sometimes what the fears are because I'm not startled. I don't think it's a fear. When you startle me, then I know I'm afraid. I feel fear at that moment. You know, maybe around a wild animal of a certain type. If you ask my daughter, a moose, you know, somebody else, maybe a bear or a lion, a tiger, a wolf. I don't know what scares people, what creates fear in them. What I do know is that I probably have some inside of me. I'd like to be able to let go of them. And I like the fact that on any given moment, I can let go of it. I never have to hold on to it again. Let go. Looking forward to next time. Live in harmony with and use the bounty of the land to bring kindness to the world. Dok Shao, okay?